you have lexical morphemes such as like work, read, they have a sense that you can relate to, and grammatical meaning that is more abstract. So lexical morphemes, and I'll talk about this later too, but they designate different notions such as root, stem, or base. Root is the element that has the sense, and it is usually, like in English, almost anything is free, but in many other languages it cannot occur without any other inflectional or derivational affixes brought onto it. On the other hand, stem or base are the things that are similar to the root in the sense that they are connected to lexical meaning, but they are the ones that take inflectional stuff on. The difference between what is lexical and what is grammatical is about as clear as what inflection and derivation is, because there are many morphemes that are in between. So the morpheme ville in English still carries, I mean, it's a long word from French, it still carries the sense of town. This is what it still means in French. So in English it may derive place names, but it may also derive crowd names, like Giggsville is a crowd I hang out with when I go to a festival in the desert, and that's our crowd, that's Giggsville. So it refers to a whole composition of people. In very informal English, people can come and ask me and say, how are things in Ljubaville? So it will refer to my whole situation. But that word will never be alone in English. So it's not clear, is it something that is lexical, is it something that is grammatical? It hangs in there. In Yupik Eskimo and many neighboring languages in the American North, such lexical affixes, as they call them, are extremely common. So this distinction is useful. Again, many things in analysis are useful as a starting point. As you go about with your analysis, you need to define your middle area, because a lot of stuff will be there. So I talked about free versus bound morphemes. Ville was one example. Roots, as I said, they are could be either free or bound, but that's very English-based statement. In other languages, roots are not so free. And affixes, when I say affix, I cover elements that occur both before a root, after a root, in the middle of the root. They are generally bound, but again, it's a general statement.
In Turkish, verb bases are considered to be bound morphemes.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, like roots, being free is a English-based statement. So you are very welcome. I mean, I've given English examples of what root is. So sky is a root, die is a root. In English, root and the distinction between root and base is not very meaningful, but in many other languages it is. Sky would be exactly identical to the root as the stem base that will take inflectional affixes, but then when you derive something, the derivation will be the base or stem that will take further affixation. If we go to French, There is a whole class of verbs that foreigners don't like to learn. So mouvoir means move, and the root is move, okay? But the stems that will take inflectional suffixes in the present are two. One is me and the other is move. So in the singular, you have to use one stem, and in the plural, only two parts of the first and the second person plural, you have to use the other stem. And that's consistent through the paradigm. Okay, and this is a whole class of verbs in French that are referred to as the third class verbs. I could go on with in Slavic languages, you will get something else, and you are welcome to think of Turkish examples, because Turkish is like this, right? The stem will take the inflectional and derivational suffixes. Okay. So the distinction between root and stem is real and meaningful. Now, affixes can differ depending on what position they take with regard to the root. And what is familiar, I believe, will be suffix that follows the root and a prefix that precedes the root. Then infix is a morpheme that comes and splits the root. Infixation is not very common in our part of the world. It's very common in Indonesia. It's very common in Papua. Circumfix is essentially a combination of a prefix and an affix, and there are two elements that surround the root. They have to be there, both of them, so that you'll get like a form that means something to you. So affixes will be, again, grammatical or lexical, again, the difference of between what is a stem, root, or affix can be problematic for many things. Because there are things that do have a meaning, they're never free. So, is it an affix? Is it a root? And they never inflect, but it still has meaning. Like meta is something it means about, but it cannot be free in English. It always occurs in some kind of compounds. So that has to be kept in mind. Shall we take a break or? Yeah? Okay. Okay. 10 minutes break, we'll come back.